Can you please share with the group your pre and post vaccine lifestyle and PERQ product recommendations? Specifically, what could promote an optimal response to the vaccine and possibly prevent or avoid some negative reactions?
Well, it's a timely question. Many studies are underway. Only a little bit is well understood in regard to the question. If I'm going to have the vaccine, is there anything I can do to improve the benefits and to reduce what are called adverse events? If I've just had the vaccine, are there any smart things I can do? If I have friends who've had the vaccines and they want to know what would be smart for them to do. When you look far downstream, as people are doing today with tracking the consequences, you can get lost in the details pretty quickly. I suggest either going upstream, if you like that metaphor, to look at the cause, or raise the conversation to a higher intellectual level and understand, again, what are the causes that either render a person having an ineffective response to the vaccine or an adverse event. And if you've had the vaccine, especially if you've had a booster shot, and more booster shots are coming likely, most people report feeling less well the day or two after the booster. And it seems to be across all the different vaccines, although you can get some slight differences in regard to in regard to the demographics of the people. And by demographics, I really mean comorbidities. Prior damage to lungs from air pollution, tobacco smoking, vaping, prior risk to the heart, either indicated because you're taking certain medicines to compensate for some deficit in heart muscle pumping and function, or more likely, because repair of the heart has not been done for lack of antioxidants like ascorbate, lack of minerals like magnesium brought in by choline citrate, lack of the essentials. And then we get to blood vessels, where the lining has these very unusual, very important cells called endothelial cells, which I've been fascinated by since the late 70s, when I did collaborative work with the Heart Institute at NIH while I was at the clinical center still. And direct answer to your question, everyone needs, and especially those who are going to have or have recently had a vaccination, everyone needs to check their ascorbate antioxidant, the maternal antioxidant that sacrifices herself that all others can be regenerated, do a C cleanse, preferably weekly. For most people, this would be done in a few hours on a weekend, but regularly, because most of us have a repair deficit to overcome. And when we bring in enough of the good repair, evoking healing response elements, the need for ascorbate might go up for some weeks. Then it will likely reach a plateau. And then you can celebrate when you get bulkier stools and you start repeating the weekly C cleanse to ramp down. Then you need nature's detoxifying sulfur-rich foods. The acronym is GGOBE, but GGOBE stands for garlic, ginger, onions, brassica sprouts. Now, brassica sprouts are broccoli sprouts. All sprouts are good, but broccoli sprouts have been best studied and clearly have some distinctive components that help evoke human healing responses and innate anti-cancer mechanisms. And then GGOBE, E is for eggs. We prefer goose, duck, or quail eggs, or biodynamic or home harvested eggs, not commercial eggs, for a variety of reasons. And in the same way, you want to eat as much of foods that are easy to digest, assimilate, and eliminate without immune burden. And that, for those who would like to be acquainted with the scientific way to determine whether your foods are attacking you or causing immune burden or causing digestive ills or causing autoimmune repair deficit situations, that would be the lymphocyte response assay, LRA, lymphocyte response assay, a technique we introduced in 1983, and we continue to lead both in quality, that is precision of blind split samples, as well as in the completeness of our recommendations, guiding what you should avoid and what you should eat, noting hidden places where you might find offending substances, including specific supplementation based on a health appraisal questionnaire and the cell culture by LRA. And you might indeed want to do the other 7 predictive biomarkers and the other 3 personal self-assessments. There are 4 self-assessments, including the C-cleanse. They include digestive transit time, which is worth checking. This includes urine pH after rest, which is definitely worth checking. This includes hydration status, which is definitely worth checking, because if you're well hydrated, you're more likely to have a benefit without an adverse event from a vaccine. Now, there's much more to the subject, and I appreciate the question. As someone who just wants to know the answer without getting too deeply involved in the question and how it's interpreted, I am suggesting that everyone take PERQUE Lifeguard Super Multi, sufficient to keep the urine sunshine yellow. That means enough B-complex and help for the multi-mineral essential buffers that are needed, help for the mitochondria because of the Krebs salt that have been pioneered by us and used for decades to benefit. In addition to PERQUE Lifeguard to keep the urine sunshine yellow, and it can be the mini capsules, taken with food, of course, then we recommend a triple detoxifier. This is known as PERQUE Detox in Guard. Detox, IN for immune neurohormonal, detox in guard. It's a triple detoxifier. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Some other time we can talk about the details of that, but you want all 3 to be tuned up. Then you want PERQUE potency based on the C-cleanse or however you take your ascorbate antioxidant in. Then you want something to amplify that benefit, such as PERQUE Pain Guard or PERQUE Repair Guard, the polyphenolics, the safer quercetin dihydrate, a zinc ionophore, a very important benefit among many benefits, and the soluble OPC, the orthoproanthocyanidins, but the low molecular weight soluble, more bioavailable forms that we find more beneficial. Then you want to check your vitamin D level, have drops under the tongue to bring it into the 50 to 80 range. And we do suggest starting with PERQUE K2D3. That's a capsule, just to make sure you have enough of the harmonious and synergistic essential nutrients, but then use drops under the tongue to bring your level, can be a blood spot, but to bring your vitamin D level, 25 hydroxy D, of course, into the 50 to 80 range. Then we do recommend checking your omega-3 index, because if you have too much omega-6, you are more likely to have adverse events and a storm in your immune system. If you have enough omega-3 to balance the omega-6, which you can do under our guidance and under the Natural Alkaline Way program that we brought into focus some 3 decades ago and have continued to refine and make available to those who are eager to evoke their own healing responses, are eager to avoid problems, even including catastrophe. Now, I will just mention in regard to catastrophe, that's the cytokine storm that leads to something terrible, that it appears to many of us, scientists, clinical researchers, it appears to us to be an acute loss of vitamin C and an acute loss of magnesium due to metabolic acidosis from stress and infection, because the person had comorbidities and was already in survival mode, was not where we want folks to be, which is elective protective mode. If you follow the guidance I've given here, you will be in more and more elective protective mode. That gives you more fortitude, that gives you more restorative sleep, that gives you more gratitude for whatever is your portion, that gives you more opportunity for meaningful moments, meaningful relationships, and meaningful work. So I've tried to be as focused as possible on a complex question. I do want to just mention that it is true if folks have lost their sense of taste or smell, or their sense of taste and smell has diminished. Assume that's zinc deficiency. Along with the magnesium choline citrate, you might want to be taking in one or another form of bioavailable zinc, especially for those folks who say, gee, I used to enjoy the taste and smell of food. I have trouble now tasting and smelling my food. With that footnote and with that addition, we have an ebook. It is available online. If you go to drrusselljaffe.com, you too can download it. It will have this information and a bit more so that it reinforces or clarifies any questions I have left. But thanks for asking, and that's the answer.